We can act like we come from out of this world. Leave the real one far behind.
I was told that first-time speakers were supposed to open with a dance. Ed Libby, we're going to talk later. I want to start by saying how humbled I am to be in this incredible, incredible program amongst so many brilliant peers who inspire and awe and who I constantly learn from. It's an intimidating crowd. This is no joke. I've been having these nightmares, these repeat nightmares where I'm chased by hounds and the village people of Scottsdale chase me out with torches. I'm comforted to see what an incredible, warm, loving, amazing crowd this is. I figured I should open up early so that you guys know that I'm a total spaz, so that your expectations are pretty low. Or maybe, hopefully, some of you are hungover enough to, not really have high expectations for me or not care at this point. So I'm banking on either. These past couple years have been a little unpredictable in my experience. I mean, sometimes uncomfortable, sometimes exciting. In the office, I feel like we constantly vacillate between popping bottles of champagne and giving each other high fives and doing the slow clap, to like literally maxing out my credit card and doing like rock, paper, scissors for who's gonna pay valet. It's been a weird couple of years. I'm so uncomfortable with the unpredictable nature of this business, yet the opportunity to constantly do new things and recreate is what led me here. And as new talent emerges and new companies flood our industry, I realize now more than ever the importance of constantly reevaluating my brand and thinking about what I uniquely bring to the table as a designer and an entrepreneur. So ask yourself, what makes you special? For better and for worse, every day is a new day. Just when I'm getting to the point when I want to pour myself another glass and kick my feet up and slink into my senior years of being a business owner, the whole way of doing things seems to change. I mean, let's be honest, I'm probably still going to pour myself that other glass. However, when doing so, trying to understand the market and the trends, no matter how much I may or may not get them, has become really important. I've never really loved the idea of trends within the wedding world, but if I don't know what they are and if I'm not constantly evaluating how they're evolving, then I won't know how to respond to them. So, why am I still here? I realize that the longer I stick around, the easier it is to become jaded and bored and complacent, perhaps overly confident. So rather than drink my own Kool-Aid, I try to remind myself of who I am and why I chose this and where I come from, what I'm passionate about. I remind myself of my strengths, and I try to gently remind myself of my weaknesses, and I've got more than a truckload of those. The one thing that I can always conclude is that there is enough room for all of us. We all have a point of view, one that is valuable and interesting and warranted, one of which some will respond to and others may be horrified by. But be that as it may, it's what makes us all different and necessary. Celebrate our competition, learn from our peers, marvel at our differences. We never have to be threatened because there is enough to go around. The most successful companies are built from the inside out on differentiation. It's not only what you say, but it's how you're perceived. How are we perceived? How we're perceived is what we believe in. It's what we stand for. It's our promise to consumers. It's our point of view. So what is the origin of our point of view? I'm often asked how I define my brand and how it developed into what it is today. As I look around at a lot of you, I'm reminded that who we are and what we've experienced is what's ultimately going to define us and keep our doors open. I mean, I honestly have had more than a couple of times during the economic downturn where I thought I might have to shut mine. Maybe I even wanted to at times. And I've also had some of my greatest successes and the things that I'm most proud of in my career. Every year I have to remember my origin and how my point of view developed. So while I know a lot of you, There's some of you that I don't know, and so I'll tell you a little bit about where I come from. I come from divorced parents. I'm originally from Indianapolis, Indiana. I moved to LA when I was 12 years old. I moved to Long Beach. And literally, I might as well have been parachuted from another planet. I got there and everybody was like drinking wine coolers by the pier and had their OP t-shirts on. And everybody had hair spiked into a claw. I don't know what that was, but I literally felt like I was from a different planet. I came in, I had my kilt on and my penny loafers. I was like straight out of prep school. And everyone looked at me like I was literally an alien. Eventually, my parents would move me back from Long Beach to Indianapolis. By the time I got back to Indianapolis, I had the claw. I was rocking the claw. And I had the OP t-shirt on, and I was very familiar with wine coolers, I must say. I guess I started to sort of develop a way of relating to things from a less popular traditional point of view. I began to accept my role of going against trend and sort of the established portrayal of what's common or normal. I never finished high school, of course, once again going against convention. I did, however, end up in college, and there I was in college, my combat boot-wearing, pierced self, doing what I do, and I was a theater arts major. I studied everything from scenic carpentry to lighting to welding to stage management. Looking around at a lot of you, I realize that you're like, the thought of me wielding a welding tool or a jigsaw is kind of horrifying, and I understand that. That's valid. I loved it, though. I found my home in production, and these were my people. I eventually went to do a program in marketing at UCLA, and that changed me. It also brought so much to the way I related to things, which was also really valuable. Early in my career, I was all over the place. All over the place. I had no idea what I was going to do. I started doing retail display design, and later I'd get work doing a number of local events as an assistant from, everything from fashion shows to nonprofits. I picked up experience assisting everyone. I assisted an interior designer, an art collector, a caterer, a florist. I was a talent booker. At the time, I didn't realize that I was essentially building the start of my business. I was so busy trying to convince my parents that I wasn't a total gypsy and capable of keeping a job that I actually had multiple skills. That's how I build that. Early in my career, I thought I was moving more towards music, and I was given the opportunity to do a wedding. I don't know anything about weddings. Nothing. I think I'd maybe been to 1 or 2 weddings in my entire life. I didn't really relate to sort of the traditions of it, and I was encouraged to do a wedding in my voice. I didn't know what I had to offer, but I was intrigued by the possibility of it. So it occurred to me that at that time I had this aha moment that if I didn't relate to these traditions and I craved a more unusual way of presenting weddings, then others must as well. So built on my unique set of influences, I set out to create an event production company specializing in design and planning and targeted at weddings with a non-traditional spin. What do you stand for? I founded my brand on the things that I believe in, the things that I'm passionate about, the things that define me. We all have our own list of things that make us distinctive. We share some of these, of course, and then some of these are obviously more distinctive to each of us. These are the qualities that I'm passionate about, some of which you probably share. But this is what I stand for. No judgment. Equality. Something else that is vastly important to me is marriage equality. I've been a vocal advocate in my community for many years. I believe that all love is equally valid and something that we all have the right to, period. Their day. I'm passionate about the idea of this being their day. I want to work with couples when both the bride and the groom are equally involved and engaged. It's not just her day. It should reflect both parties equally, and if he doesn't know how to articulate his voice and his vision, it is my job to show him. Beyond color palette. I try to think beyond color palette, articulating not just the poignancy within the design and the fabric of the event, but all the things that make the couple dynamic, including humor, irony, whimsy, little irreverence. It's who we all are. We're not just one note. I was trained in set design, so obviously I love everything from the theatrical to the residential. I think about this thing as a well-choreographed show that impacts all the senses. It's a show with a soul and a heartbeat telling the story of the couple. There are no rules. I believe, like many of you, that there are no rules. As we all know, there doesn't need to be a bridal party. There doesn't need to be a white gown or a garter toss. It's about what defines the couple. I always tell our clients to take what they relate to and to leave the rest. Now, obviously, we have to take care of the guest. This is important, and this is the number one thing that we all are looking out to do. But other than that, there are no have-tos. So like we do, I've done everything from turning a client's love for pirate ships into a gypsy tent village, making sense of a love for Victorian style and Tim Burton, reinterpreting the Hamptons on the West Coast, to finding a way to transition into an after-party inspired by love for James Bond. I've served breakfast for dinner, I've tray-passed black water, I've hung furniture upside down, created edible candy clouds, installed 5,000 cranes, 150 antlers dipped in automotive paint, and fabricated cages as headpieces to showcase servers that were from the underworld. We're all in this together. Above all, we are all in this together. I may have the role of movie producer, but without the cast and the crew, there is no movie. I have only respect and gratitude for my team of collaborators. I may have written the script, hired the players, maybe designed the set, but I have to empower those around me to make it the best that I possibly can be. It shouldn't end with me, and we should all respect one another and have fun in the process. It's about imagination and entertainment. We just can't take ourselves too seriously. I'm entitled, obviously, to my occasional McEnroe moment. I'll own that. However, that can be on my time and not my team's time. Every day we have to ask ourselves, who am I? And what do I stand for? We also have to define who our audience is. So, who are my people? Who are your people? I didn't randomly pick a niche because I thought it would work. I went with what I love, what I relate to, what I'm good at. So, who's my audience? I identify my clients based on who I relate to. They're edgy, they're contrarians, they're rebellious, they're theatrical, trendsetters, fashion forward, they're funny, they're confident, they're a little irreverent. They love couture, they love the theatrical, they're unresponsive to what's trending. They're my people. So who are your people? It's not enough just to assume that my company is going to stand out based on talent alone. I have to stand for something. And as we all know, the economic crisis didn't kill the luxury market, it's just made consumers more discerning. If my point of view is clear, then my consumer is going to know exactly what to expect and what separates me from another event producer. And they'll be able to determine if we're aligned. I'm not for everyone. And not every couple is going to be for me, which is fine, as there's others out there that might be. Why take on something if I'm not going to be passionate about it? Because there's going to be somebody else out there that will be. So what's your bat signal? This is the beacon, the bat signal I like to call it, the beacon that you constantly blast out to everyone else, showing what your core message is. You send this out to your village, your people, your audience. So we all have our bat signals. Maybe yours is a rose. Maybe it's a stiletto, maybe it's a martini, maybe it's a mustache. But visibility is key. I've determined what, yeah, we're gonna regroup here. It's on. I've determined what sets my brand apart, but the challenge is to constantly assess where opportunities for growth exist. I'd be perfectly happy to stay at home in sweats with no makeup on, kicking it by the fire, but now more than ever, I have to remind myself to get out there and remain visible. This is the only way I'm going to continue to find my people. Where are your opportunities for growth? Social media and the internet have both simplified and magnified the importance of self-promotion, but sometimes it can feel like propaganda, right? I try to keep it real. I mean, sometimes the things that I want to say and the things that I should say are maybe not always aligned. I'm sure I've said a couple of eyebrow-raising things over the years. I never want to offend or alienate, but I'm always going to try to remain consistent and authentic. Haters are going to hate. My people will always appreciate my candor. And your people are always going to turn up the volume to hear what you have to say. We all have to be vulnerable to get our bat signal out there. Over the past few years, I've diversified my business to include an expanded media platform that's largely focused on television opportunities. However, I've certainly made sure to carefully choose or even create my own projects that are consistent with my brand message. Nobody's going to do that for me. New mediums honestly terrify me, but it's allowed me greater visibility to speak to my audience. The unknown, of course, can be daunting, and so is fear of failure. But there's so much that we can all do and so much that we can all create. Most of us haven't even begun to tap into that. Nobody's going to fault you for trying. I mean, they may actually, but fuck them. Empower those around you. So often we're taught to keep all of our ideas and knowledge so locked up so it's never stolen. But the most valuable thing that you have is who you are and what you uniquely bring to the table. There's only one me. There's only one of each of you. And I'm careful not to hold my cards too close, as I really believe that rather than being protective and paranoid, we can empower those around us to succeed. Why not all rise up as a community and empower one another? Everyone on my team is an advertisement for my brand, but they're still not me. If they leave, they'll leave with their unique voice. And that's okay, because there's enough to go around. My clients wanting my voice will always find me. Don't ever let fear drive the bus. Consumer rejection is okay. You don't need to book every job. You're not right for every couple. There's enough work to go around. And if you're constantly reaching out to your niche market and are clear on what you represent within the marketplace, there'll always be a consumer. Not everyone is going to subscribe to your point of view. However, it's better to have a unique point of view than to have none at all. There will be enough to go around. This is for you, Ed Libby. Wait for it. Wait for it. Just give it a minute. You're going to like it when it happens. It's going to be good. Right there.
Make you want to turn around and say goodbye. Until then, baby.